Power of attorney for custody versus guardianship in Oklahoma. I'm Tulsa attorney James Wirth, and those are the concepts that we're talking about today. What is the difference between a power of attorney for custody and getting guardianship? All right, so power of attorney for custody is relatively new. It's been around since 2014 in Oklahoma. It's not that well known. You don't see it utilized that much, but essentially it allows a parent or legal custodian to sign paperwork in the form of a power of attorney. Is actually a template that's in the statute, and you can find that at Title 10, Section 700 for the law regarding it, and in the form they put, I believe, probably in Section 701. And that essentially is where that person, the legal custodian, the parent, is delegating to a third party the authority to act as the parent. And the statute allows them to do that on anything except for the power to consent to marriage, adoption, an abortion, or termination of parental rights. So for anything else, that person who receives, as the recipient of the power of attorney for custody, can make decisions for the child. So perhaps where the child goes to school, or elective medical treatment, all of those types of decision making can be done. So the differences between that and a guardianship is, one, it can be done outside of court just with the proper paperwork. Another difference, though, is it only lasts for a maximum of a year. It has to be renewed. A new one has to be done in every year. It specifically says that by entering into this agreement to give another person power of attorney, it is not abandonment, abuse, neglect, anything like that, so long as the person comes back at the end of the year to execute another one if it's needed, or to go ahead and take physical custody back from the person, start making those decisions again. All right, so guardianship, on the other hand, that is a court proceeding. You file with the court, you give notice to interested parties, you show up, the court reviews, you have a hearing, judge asks questions, lawyers ask questions, the court determines if it's in the best interest for a guardianship to be entered. Now, when you enter a guardianship, that takes away the decision-making authority, the legal custody, from the legal custodians or the parents at that time, and vests it with the guardians. So they lose that authority. However, it does not terminate their parental rights. So the guardianship could be terminated later, the parental rights are intact, but they can't make decisions regarding the child. Whereas if you have the power of attorney for custody, that does not take away decision-making authority from the parents like a guardianship does. So those are kind of the main differences. One, guardianship can go on indefinitely, although you do need to do your annual plan for care and treatment. Power of attorney for custody is only for a year at a time. You need to come back and do a new one and renew it. For a guardianship, that takes away decision-making authority from the parents or legal custodians and gives it to the guardian. For the power of attorney for custody, it grants that decision-making to the third party that's the recipient of it, but it doesn't take it away from the parents. They can still do that. Guardianship has to be terminated by the court. You file a motion to terminate, you have a hearing on that. Power of attorney can be terminated at any time by the legal custodian. And then getting it into place, like we talked about, for the power of attorney for custody, the parent or legal custodian can just sign the proper paperwork outside of court without judicial oversight. For the guardianship, it's entered by a court after filing with the court and entered by the judge. So those are some of the differences. If you're dealing with a circumstance where you don't know if it's best to do a power of attorney for custody or guardianship, you're going to probably want to talk to an attorney about your specific legal circumstances, receive that person's legal advice. To get that scheduled with somebody at my office, you can go online to makelaweasy.com.